Hey, what's going on, guys? So the Starfield system specifications are now released, and guess what? You're gonna need an SSD. Yes, an SSD is mandatory even on the minimum requirements checklist. So for those of you out there that have PCs and you're on a hard disk drive, please get an SSD. Whether it's a standard SSD or it's an NVMe M.2 SSD. Get an SSD, man. The difference is like night and day. Believe me. If your laptop has a hard disk drive, if you put an SSD in your laptop, it's like the performance and the load times, it's like you just got a new laptop. So, yes, following Starfield's big showing over on the weekend during the Summer Game Fest, Xbox showcase, game showcase, and the Bethesda Starfield Direct, we got the system specifications for Starfield. Now here are the minimum, okay? So you need minimum Windows 10, okay? A Ryzen 5 2600X or an Intel Core i7 6800K. So that is Ryzen, that is a Zen 2, so you either need a Zen 2 CPU, okay, or 6th gen Intel i7 processor, okay? So memory, a minimum of 16 gigs of RAM, okay? Now, everybody should have 16 gigs. If you have 8, just, get the 16. Memory is cheap now. Also, SSDs are cheap now, so you can get SSD for cheap. As far as graphics card goes, you need at least a Radeon RX 5700 or a GeForce 1070 Ti, okay? And the graphics cards have to support DX12, which is DirectX version 12, okay? So you need DX12. Of course, you need an internet connection, and SSD has to be at least 125 gigs. Well, it has to be more than that. But if you're using it as a storage drive, not for operating system, it has to be just 125 gigs. That's a big game, Starfield's gonna be a big game, so yeah, it's a big install size, and probably even a bigger download size. Alright, so now here are the recommended specs. At least a Windows 10 once again, or 11. Okay, they recommend Windows 11 with updates. Alright, so the processor now it's Zen 3, okay? So Ryzen 5 3600X, that is Zen 3. And you need at least an i5, that is 10th gen. Okay, 10th gen. So once again, the memory carries over, so at least 16 gigs. It's pretty standard now. I think majority of PC gamers have 16 gigs. As far as graphics card goes, Radeon RX 6800 XT or GTX 2080. Sorry, not GTX, RTX 2080. Alright. And once again, DX12. That's the API the game uses, DX12. And once again, of course, you need an internet connection and 125 gigs space, because here's the thing with SSDs, right? The game is gonna be loading a lot, and the game is huge, so it's gonna need to load up a lot of things, and they need it to load up fast, or else it will ruin your gaming experience. Now, once again, you don't really need an SSD. I mean, this game will run on a hard disk drive, but it won't be a good experience. It'll be probably a horrible experience. which is why they're recommending it in both the minimum and the the recommended. So once again, SSD isn't just recommended, it's necessary even on minimum specs. I honestly don't think of another game that requires you to have one. They come strongly recommended on PC, of course, especially for big open world games, of course, like, right? But saying you need one is something else. Yeah, guys, if you have a hard disk drive, you will run the game. It'll just be a horrible experience. Once again, like I said. So, what do you guys think of the specs? I think they're pretty good. They're not really that bad. What I'm surprised is that will the game have ray tracing? Because these video cards are not really good at ray tracing at all. So maybe ray tracing will come in the future. But either way, guys, what do you guys think? Can you run it? Can you run this game on a PC? Can you run Starfield on your PC? What do you think of the SSD requirements for both the minimum and recommended? Will you guys be playing Starfield? Let me know in the comments. Alright, everyone, take care. Peace.